I always thought my life was pretty straightforward. I had a solid job as a graphic designer in Seattle, a cozy apartment with a view of the Puget Sound, and a boyfriend who seemed like he could be the one. His name was Ethan, and we'd been together for a little over a year. He was charming, ambitious, and had this warm smile that made my heart skip a beat. But there was one thing about our relationship that kept causing ripples: my best friend, Lucas. Lucas and I had been friends since college. We met during a late-night study session in the library at the University of Washington, bonding over our mutual love for bad sci-fi movies and greasy diner food. Over the years, our friendship had grown into something unshakable. He was the kind of friend who'd show up with coffee when I was pulling an all-nighter for a work deadline, or make me laugh until my sides hurt when I was feeling down. Lucas was like family, but Ethan didn't see it that way. It started with small comments. Ethan would raise an eyebrow when I mentioned hanging out with Lucas, or make a passing remark about how often we texted. I brushed it off at first, thinking he was just adjusting to my close friendship with another guy. But over time, those comments turned into something sharper, something that felt like distrust. And then, one night, everything came to a head. It was a rainy Friday evening in Seattle, the kind where the city feels like it's wrapped in a gray blanket. Ethan and I were at my apartment, sprawled on the couch, watching a movie. My phone buzzed on the coffee table, and I glanced at it, a text from Lucas asking if I wanted to grab brunch the next day at our favorite spot, a little diner called the Rusty Spoon. I smiled and typed a quick reply, confirming the plan. Ethan shifted beside me, his eyes flicking to my phone. "Who's that?" he asked, his tone casual but with an edge I couldn't ignore. "Just Lucas," I said, keeping my voice light. "He's asking about brunch tomorrow." Ethan's jaw tightened, and he sat up straighter. "You're seeing him again? Didn't you just hang out with him last weekend?" I frowned, setting my phone down. "Yeah, we grabbed coffee. What's the big deal?" He crossed his arms, his eyes narrowing. "The big deal, Sarah, is that you're always with him. It's like you're prioritizing him over me." I blinked, caught off guard. "Ethan, he's my best friend. We've been close for years. You know that." "Yeah, well, maybe it's time to rethink that," he said, his voice low but firm. "I don't think it's appropriate for you to be so close to another guy when you're in a relationship." I stared at him, my stomach twisting. "Are you serious? You're telling me I can't be friends with Lucas?" "I'm saying it makes me uncomfortable," Ethan said, leaning forward. "And if you care about our relationship, you'll respect that." "Maybe you should. I don't know, drop him. At least dial it back." The room felt smaller, the air heavier. I could hear the rain tapping against the windows, but it did nothing to cool the anger rising in my chest. "You're jealous," I said, the words slipping out before I could stop them. "You're jealous of my best friend, and that's your problem, not mine." Ethan's face hardened. He stood up, running a hand through his hair. "Jealous? You think I'm just being jealous?" "Sarah, I'm trying to protect what we have. But if you're going to throw accusations at me, maybe I'm wasting my time here." I stood up too, my heart pounding. "Wasting your time?" "Ethan, I've been nothing but honest with you. Lucas is my friend, nothing more. If you can't handle that, then maybe you're the one who needs to figure things out." The argument escalated from there, our voices rising over the sound of the rain. I told him he was being controlling, and he accused me of not caring about his feelings. It was like we were speaking different languages, each word driving a wedge between us. Finally, Ethan grabbed his jacket from the back of the couch and headed for the door. "I'm done," he said, his voice cold. "I'm not going to stick around and be made to feel like the bad guy." "Ethan, wait," I started, but he was already out the door, slamming it behind him. I stood there, frozen, listening to the echo of his footsteps fading down the hallway. My apartment felt emptier than it ever had. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept replaying the argument in my head, wondering if I'd been too harsh. Was I wrong to defend my friendship with Lucas so fiercely? Was Ethan right to feel threatened? I tossed and turned, the rain outside mirroring the storm in my mind. The next morning, I dragged myself to the Rusty Spoon to meet Lucas. He was already there, sitting in our usual booth by the window, his dark hair slightly messy from the drizzle outside. He grinned when he saw me, but his smile faded as I slid into the seat across from him. "You look like you got hit by a truck," he said, his tone teasing but gentle. Rough night, I sighed, wrapping my hands around the warm coffee mug the waitress had just set down. You could say that. Ethan and I had a fight. Lucas raised an eyebrow. About what? I hesitated, then told him everything. Ethan's comments about our friendship, his demand that I drop Lucas, and the way he'd stormed out. Lucas listened quietly, his expression shifting from surprise to concern. Wow, he said when I finished. That's intense. So, what are you going to do? I don't know, I admitted, staring into my coffee. I love Ethan, but I can't just cut you out of my life. You're too important to me. Lucas leaned back, his eyes softening. Sarah, you don't have to choose between us. A good relationship shouldn't make you feel like you're losing parts of yourself. If Ethan can't accept our friendship, that's on him. His words hit me hard. I'd always thought of Ethan as someone who supported me, but this demand felt like a line in the sand. Was I supposed to sacrifice a decade-long friendship to make him feel secure? And if I did, what else would I have to give up? Over the next few days, Ethan didn't call or text. I didn't reach out either, too stubborn and hurt to make the first move. But the silence was deafening. I threw myself into work, sketching designs for a new client project, but my mind kept drifting back to him. I missed his laugh, the way he'd tease me about my terrible cooking, the way he'd hold my hand when we walked through Pike Place Market. But I couldn't shake the feeling that something fundamental had shifted between us. A week later, I got a text from Ethan. Can we talk? I'm at the coffee shop on 5th. My heart leapt, but I was nervous. What did he want to say? Was he going to apologize, or was this the end? I found him at a corner table in the coffee shop, looking tired but calm. He stood when he saw me, offering a small smile. Thanks for coming, Sarah. I nodded, sitting across from him. What's this about? He took a deep breath, his hands wrapped around his coffee cup. I've been thinking a lot about what happened. I shouldn't have asked you to stop being friends with Lucas. That wasn't fair. I felt a flicker of hope, but I stayed quiet, waiting for him to continue. I was jealous, he admitted, his voice low. I saw how close you two are, and it made me feel insecure. Like maybe I wasn't enough for you. But I realize now that I was projecting my own fears onto you. I trust you, Sarah, and I want to make this work. His words were sincere, and I could see the regret in his eyes. But something in me had changed too. I appreciated his apology, but I needed to know that he understood what our friendship